What's up, YouTube? It's your white-looking Native American friend Tyrone. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down my college experience, and I'm going to explain how I went from a 0.66 GPA to graduating with a degree and a 3.2 GPA, all while showing you my actual official college transcripts. So if you guys know anything about getting a bachelor's degree, it typically takes the average person 4 years to graduate. And that's if you know what you want to go to college for and if you don't have any major slip-ups. But let's just say it took me a lot longer than that, and here's why. I don't know how high school works today, but when I was in high school and getting ready to graduate back in 2007, 2008, I had no preparation for college. I had no one to tell me that I should be thinking about what I want to go to college for or what I want to do for a career. I had no one telling me what college life was like or what college courses were like. I had nothing. No one in my family had gone to college yet, so I had no reference at all. So when I arrived in Corvallis, Oregon for my first term at Oregon State University, I was completely overwhelmed, to say the least. So I was going to be living in the dorms, so I show up with my parents, I get dropped off. Obviously, there's going to be no adult supervision for the first time in my life. I'd have absolutely no rules to follow, except obviously, doing something crazy and breaking the law was out of the question. And my quote-unquote major was the University of Exploratory Studies, which in other words means I have no fucking clue what I want to do. So with all of this newfound freedom, it came with a lot of shock and a lot of panic. So in high school, I was the type of kid that was the good kid. I did sports, I was in honors classes, I got really good grades. I never got in trouble, I didn't drink or party, I was the good kid. So now that you guys have some background information and I've kind of set the stage, let's go look at the actual transcripts. So I used the snipping tool to clip this. That way it just showed my classes and grades. I got rid of all of my personal information like my birth date and all that stuff, so you guys don't know all that. So as you can see, my first term was the fall of 2008, and I did really well for my first college courses, finishing with a 3.57 GPA. So this first term, I was still in, high school mode, thinking I can't skip any classes, I can't be late to anything, I'm not gonna party, I'm just gonna focus on school. And like I said, I did really well. 3.57 GPA is pretty good for your first term. So now we move to our second term, which is the winter of 2009. So you can see I finished with a 2.33 GPA, and I got a D in general psychology. So when I got to the end of that first term with that 3.5 GPA, I thought, hey, this is easy. I'm still getting good grades. This was still a piece of cake. And I also realized that there was no one telling me, hey, you have to be in class. You cannot skip class or otherwise you're going to be in trouble. There was no one there. There was basically no one keeping me in check. So when you're at college, no one is going to babysit you. If you want to waste your money or your parents' money and not show up to class, professors are rarely going to care. They're not going to hold your hand for you. So after that successful first term and the initial shock wearing off, and realizing, hey, I could miss a class here or there and it won't be a big deal. So that's what began to happen. So my general psychology class was at 8 a.m. So I was routinely falling asleep during lectures, which was terrible. That turned into, well, I don't want to go, so I'm just going to skip this class just this once. And that obviously turned into, well, maybe I'll just miss a few more days and it won't hurt. And obviously you can see that it didn't turn out too well, and I ended up getting a D in the class, which is really bad. So now after the second term, we started down this spiral, and it continued for the next two terms, as you guys can see. It just got worse. So spring of 2009 came around, and I finished with a 2.45 GPA, and I got a D in Math 112. So in high school, I never studied, like ever, and I got really good grades. So in college, I didn't really know how to study. No one ever, explained to me that normally you need to actually study, do the work, make sure you're reading, make sure you're actually preparing for your classes. So I was never really taught that. So unlike that psychology class, I actually did show up to this Math 112 class, but it was weird. There was quote unquote optional homework, and your grade was basically just based on tests. So obviously I failed to study. Like I said, I wasn't prepared to be able to study, I guess, or I didn't understand the need for studying, and I didn't do the homework since it was optional, and that obviously reflected in my grades. So after spring term, I moved back home for the summer and came back for the fall of 2009 and the winter of 2010, and my grades just got worse and worse. So I went from a 1.82 GPA to that 0.66 GPA that this video is based off of. During this time, and kind of towards the end of the last year, I realized that I'm in the University of freaking Exploratory Studies. Why am I taking these classes? These don't mean anything. I don't have a purpose. I don't even know what I'm doing or what I want to do with my future. So this fact basically made me completely lose motivation, and the classes just felt pointless, and I just felt like I was wasting my time. Basically, this led to me skipping the majority of my classes. So some of my classes I would still go here and there, but even worse, some of my classes I would just not go altogether. Like I just stopped going. And then around this time is the first time I had my first alcoholic drink. I was around 19. And this led to me missing even more classes, starting to go to parties, and it ultimately led to failing to keep my grades up. So with 2 terms below a 2.0 GPA, I no longer qualified for scholarships from my Native American tribe. And so that meant that I'd have to pay for the next term out of my own pocket. And if I was able to get a 2.0 or above in that next term, then I would re-qualify for those scholarships. So as you can see above the section that says Fall 2008, we have a section that shows transfer credits. So I got 32 credits from Portland State and 59 from Central Oregon Community College. We'll get to that later. But basically after this term of 0.66 GPA, I took a break from school, and then I eventually applied and took a couple terms of classes at Portland State University. So I started here with an economics major for some reason, and then realized like this isn't what I want to do. So again, I started off really well, and then the grades started getting worse and worse after I lost motivation again. But luckily, you can see I was able to average a 2.83 before things got too bad. It's still not great, but it's not what we were, down to when we left Oregon State. So after this short stint at Portland State, I took another break, and my mom was panicking, thinking I was not going to go back to school, not finish my degree. But during this break, I really thought about what I wanted to do for my career, and I thought about how I really care about the environment. I really cared about climate change, and learning the effects of that was really interesting to me. And I knew that I did not want to sit in an office job for the rest of my life. I would go crazy. So I had a friend that lived in a place called Bend, Oregon, and I would visit her quite often, and I loved it there. There was so much to do outdoors, and it was just a really cool and awesome place. And it just so happened that they had an Oregon State University sister campus there, which is just like a smaller campus that's, it's not their main campus, but it's still Oregon State University. It's just a really small campus with a lot less options. So after I found this out, I kind of looked into what degrees they offered there, and I saw they had a degree in natural resources. So once I saw this, I reapplied to school, and I moved with my now wife, and we moved to Bend. And I started taking classes again in the fall of 2012. So now you know how bad my grades were under the I have no clue what I'm doing degree. But after switching to natural resources, my 2 worst grades were a C+ in this awful communications class, and then a C in principles of biology, where the instructor was just terrible, and a lot of people did bad in that class. Anyways, I'm going to move a lot faster now through these transcripts, but you can see once I switched to natural resources and had somewhat of a plan in place, I actually enjoyed the classes I was taking, and I actually started, attending those classes and not skipping the classes. And I kind of learned how to study a little bit more. And you'll see that my grades significantly improved, and they showed that. So you'll see there's multiple terms here with 3.8 GPAs, a few terms with 4.0 GPAs. And essentially, the rest of my grades for my degree were roughly an A or a B. So this campus was really unique. The Oregon State University Cascades campus, that sister's campus I was talking about, was really small. It was just one building at the time, but it was located on the Central Oregon Community College campus as well. So you would take your 100 and 200 level courses at the community college, and then you would take your 300, 400 more specialized courses at Oregon State in that one building. So you'll see not only on the Oregon State official transcripts, but I have my Central Oregon Community College transcripts as well, and they both show a 3.53 GPA. So those credits transferred over to Oregon State. So how did I go from a 0.66 GPA to graduating with a degree and a 3.2 GPA overall, even with those awful grades in the beginning affecting my overall GPA? Well, the short answer is I found a degree that I cared about. I saw a career working in the field instead of an office, and I actually started going to my classes because of that. And that's a really, really important piece of advice, is simply just show up to the classes. Show up and do the work, and you will do well. So even if you feel lost in the beginning, just know that you can always turn it around in the end, just like I did. If you want some advice though, I would say don't go to college until you actually have a plan and you're certain what you want to go to college for. Sure, you can take some intro classes, get your prereqs out of the way, but overall, I would wait until you actually have a plan in place. That way you're not wasting any time or money and you're not hurting your GPA to a point where it'll be hard to recover from. So I got super lucky finding a degree that I cared about and everything worked out for me in the end. So I plan on doing a follow-up video to this video talking about if you should go to college and why I think you should or shouldn't. So let me know if that's something you guys are interested in. Also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. It really helps out the channel. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you have any questions, you have any feedback, or you just want to interact. Let me know if you guys would be interested in that video I just mentioned, or if you have any other video ideas that you want me to do. I read and respond to every single comment, and if you don't believe so, just go check for yourself. As always, you can find me on all social media at OhNoTyrone to find out updates to new uploads or live streams. So click on those links down below in the description and drop a follow. Again, if you aren't subbed, now is the time to do so because we will be uploading every week in 2020 on Friday, and we have done that so far. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Dancing till